We're continuing from last week, and we're looking at the third reason that maybe people don't think we're loving. And one of those is in Romans, the 13th chapter and verse 10. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. Love does no harm. That's Romans 13:10. Love does no harm. Sometimes people forget that the way we say things, the way we do things can be hurtful, can be harmful. And so sometimes we have to be careful to remember that love does no harm. We need to remember, as it says in Ephesians, the 4th chapter and verse 15, to speak the truth in love. It's not enough to be truthful. You have to be loving in the way that you do it. And that is part of the definition of love that we find in 1 Corinthians 13. And I'm going to read that because I think we need to know that sometimes to remember what love is. Love is patient. This is 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4 through 6. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. We need to remember as Christians to be patient and kind. Change doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes we forget that. Love is not arrogant or rude. Sometimes the way people say things, it just does more harm than good. So, the three things that we can control about why people think we aren't loving is some people aren't, they're just hateful. The second, love is active, it is not apathy. It has to be practiced. You have to decide to love every day. And the third is our attitude matters. That love does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. And that sort of brings me to number 4, which unfortunately, it's really hard for us to change because the only person I can change is me. I can't change anybody else. reasons that the world thinks that Christians aren't loving is because they have changed the definition of love. Instead of love being doing what is best for the other person, unselfishly, love has become the warm fuzzies. I want people to feel good. I don't ever want to hurt their feelings. I don't ever want to tell them they're wrong. The world has said that there's no right and wrong. There's no objective truth. Everything is subjective. But the Bible says that there is wrongdoing. That's in the verse we read. And it says there is truth. And we need to rejoice in the truth. Well, when you tell the truth, doesn't matter how nice you say it, people are going to think that you're not loving. They're going to think that you are hateful because this world doesn't tell the truth anymore. This world doesn't want to rejoice in the truth, but we need to speak the truth in love. There is sin, and we can't sugarcoat it. When I was a kid, my mama used to say, hate the sin, love the sinner. Wish more people would say that today, to understand that there's sin, but we can love the people who are sinning. We can be patient and kind to them, but we still have to speak the truth. Now, I don't know about you, but I think most of us understand that if you love somebody, you don't want to get them hurt. I think that's pretty simple, isn't it? I think that's pretty common. We understand that in the physical world. But the world says, don't tell somebody that they're lost. Don't tell somebody that there's a hell out there. Don't tell somebody that they're doing something wrong. We need to speak the truth in love. And when we do, people are going to think we're not loving. Because they've said, don't do that. Don't judge them. The only sin in the world today is judging and saying that something is right or wrong. That's the only sin. But it isn't the only sin. We need to tell people what sin is. Now, I will say, you know what? If you told somebody that they're doing something that's wrong and it's sinful a couple of times, that's enough. They know they're still doing it. They know. You don't got to warn them every second. You just got to warn them. If you love somebody, you want them not to go to hell. And hell is real. It is out there. The world doesn't believe it, but it's there, and we need to tell them. But remember, patient, kind, not arrogant, not rude, in love. Don't tell you know you're doing what's wrong and you're going to get yours. Tell them, you know, that's wrong. And unfortunately, someday you're going to have to pay for it. And I don't want you to have to pay the price. We need so much to tell people about sin. Well, then some say, well, you know, you're not loving because you're not nice to the poor. Friend said, well, you know, we should follow Jesus and not Paul. And Jesus was all about helping the poor, but Paul in 2 Thessalonians 3:10 said, if a man will not work, neither shall he eat. I remember when I was a young preacher, one of the young people said, well, you know, we need to take care of this and do that. And I said, wait a second here. You know, the Bible says, man will not work, neither shall he eat. Now, I don't understand everything about why God said that. But every single thing that God has said not to do, there's a reason for it. And most of the time, there's even a physical reason as well as a spiritual reason. It is not good for people to be lazy and to be idle and not to work. And as somebody who has had addiction in their family, one of the first things you learn is it's not loving to be enabling. Do they wonder why we don't do some things? Well, because it's not good for them. We understand that about the bears in Yellowstone. Don't feed the bears. It makes them dependent, but we don't understand it about people. You know, the thing is, I would like to say that we could change people's opinion of the church being loving, but we can't. We can do what we can. We can do what makes us more loving. But unfortunately, until people want to believe that there is a right and a wrong, that's right, there's not a thing we can do. They're going to think we're unloving. They're going to think we don't care. But I'm going to love them anyway. I'm going to tell them that there's some things that are right and some things that are wrong. There's a lot of things in this world that I really wish I could wave a magic wand and change. So many people have so many different sexual sins. Now, I'm going to tell you something here. And I like it. One isn't any better than the other. My heart was hurt back when this clerk would not give a marriage license to gays who she had been married 5 times. It hurt my heart to see that people say, well, this one's okay and this one isn't, and sin is sin. Doesn't matter whether it's fornication. Doesn't matter whether it's adultery. Doesn't homosexuality. It's still sin. I know people who are homosexual. I not only love them, I like them. And I hope that they change. But they're still my friends. I still love them. And I still care about them and don't drive them away. The attitudes on divorce and remarriage have changed a little, some for the good, some for the bad in the church. But I remember my grandmother saying something. It's about a family member that hadn't done all the right things when it comes to divorce and remarriage. And some people say, well, I don't think he should be in the church, and I don't think he should. She said, rather him be in the church than not. I'd rather him go to church than not. I don't care what sin there is. I'd rather them show up and listen than not. Speak the truth in love.
You go wrong speaking the truth.
But do it in love, in kindness, in gentleness. Jesus didn't give up on me because it took me longer to obey him than some people. Be like Jesus. Don't give up on somebody just because it takes longer than you think it ought to change them. If you don't love people unconditionally, even though they sin, you will never convert them. You will never save them if you don't love them, even though they're sinners. If anybody needs to answer the invitation in a public way, you can come now as we stand and as we sing.